After that first day of the siege, uh, we all were filling sandbags, and it was kind of it was kind of a joke because we would all be talking, and one of the guys had a boom box and had it tuned into the Armed Forces station, and they'd be playing music, and we'd be talking and filling sandbags, and it, this one guy, he was a builder. He was an E2 or E3, I don't remember, but he was sitting there, and we're all joking. We're listening to the music. We're singing along, and this guy he starts screaming at us, "Shut up! Shut up! I can't hear him." And we look at him, and Coffee says, "What can't you hear?" And he says, "I can't hear the incoming. I can't hear it." And Coffee says, "Relax. We'll tell you if anything's coming in." And the boombox was back on, and we were back joking. And this guy stood up and screamed at us, "Stop it! I can't hear him!" And he took off running. The last I heard, he had ran down the main road toward the strip, and evidently he was screaming and going nuts the whole time. It happened to be that General Cushman saw this guy, and they had some Marines tackling. They took him up in front of Lieutenant Ensign Cucks, and they ended up putting him in a straitjacket, putting him on General Cushman's helicopter, and sent him to Da Nang, and that was the last I ever heard of him. I don't know if he went completely nuts, where he went, I have no idea. But there was many times when I wanted to jump up and run. Uh, I don't know if I told you before about the incident where I'm in the bunker and I'm watching the 152 rounds, the the artillery from Rock walking down the Marine trench line in front of us. It started at the main gate, and I'm watching, and I'm looking, and I'm counting, and I know that there's going to be a round that's going to hit right where I'm at. So I take off out the hole of our fighting trench. Two guys grab me, they pull me back in, they sit on top of me, and the round goes off right outside of that hole where I would have been had they not pulled me back in. Also, while I'm thinking about it, one day Frenchie comes up to me, and we had been looking out over the perimeter, over the Marines to the south, which held our garbage dump outside the base. And the Mamasans from FOB1, they were out there catching rats. Frenchie comes up to me and he says, "Sam, you want a hot meal?" Well, this is the middle of February, and yes, I had not had a good hot meal. I said, "Well, yes, where are we going to get it?" He said, "Follow me." We went down the Marines lines and we snuck through the concertina wire that was between us and between our perimeter and FOB1. Went in there, and Frenchie went up to his staff sergeant. He was talking to him. Next thing I know, there's Mama Sons gutting these rats, skinning them out, throwing them in a pot. And they got another pot. They got a bunch of green stuff they've thrown in there. They boil them all up. Then they mix them all together, cut up the rats into little small pieces, and serve it to us in our uh, mess kits. It was the best meal I had had since January 20th. I had a hot meal in February. It was rat stew, but it was the best tasting chicken soup I had ever had. I didn't have another hot meal until April. I think it was April 2nd. I can't remember for sure. But when I got back to Don Ha, I left Case on March 28th. I got back to Don Ha, and I pretty much didn't leave my hooch except for go take a shower. That first night I got back, I took a shower, and all of a sudden, the sirens go off. There's incoming, and I'm standing there, and I don't move. And everybody in the shower takes off, and this one guy falls down who happened to be a chief in our battalion. He falls down and breaks an arm. I realize about 3 weeks later, the chief got a Purple Heart for falling in a shower and breaking his arm while the base had incoming that wasn't even close to us. I finished my shower and looked at the floor, and there was red mud everywhere. It took me probably 3 or 4 showers to get all of that red clay dirt out of me. They gave me some new greens when I got to Da Nang, but everything I had seeped red. I'll never refer, I'll never ever forget that red clay. And when I was down in Atlanta, Georgia, watching my buddy work on a job, that red clay that he was digging was just almost the exact red clay we had a Case on. There are so many things that I remember that trick. When I see something close to it, it automatically flashes back to Case on. Sulfur. When somebody hits a match, strikes a match, I'm smelling those 152s and 105s shooting shooting out the cordite in the air. It's just like having a match struck. The body bags, the guys that you lost around his recon bunker, 6 guys are buried alive. There are so many stories to be told about Case on. The heroes at that place are many, many, many unsung heroes. February, the Ghost Patrol, they went out, saw some people running, got permission to follow, ran into a horseshoe ambush, and 20 some men died. Some came back, but it took years for me to find out that people did live out of that ambush. But that day, that night, that week, I knew that everybody that went out on that patrol was dead. That was with me for years. Before the siege happened, the west end of the base got probed. There were evidently 6 people checking out our lines, mapping stuff, and the Marines heard noise, challenged the the intruders, got no response, opened fire. There were five KIAs confirmed, and the bodies were laying there the next morning. One blood trail led off. They couldn't find who it was. They brought the bodies back into graves registration, and they were laid out there for everybody to see. And I swear to this day, they were not Vietnamese. I will swear to the dying day that they were high 6'6" Chinese, and they were out there advising the North Vietnamese army, and they were the ones doing that probe. And when they decided finally to bury him, they told me, they didn't ask me, they told me to go down to the end of the east end of the strip and dig a hole. And I took my TD-25 down there. I dug a big hole about 8 or 9 feet deep. The chaplain and the Colonel Lowndes and a couple other officers And the people from Graves Registration, they brought the bodies down. They laid them at the bottom of the hole, head to foot. Reverend Stubbe said words over them. Everybody left. I was told to bury them. And being butthole that I was, and not being able to get any revenge for the guys that I'd lost, I drove my bulldozer down in the hole over the bodies, and then I proceeded to cover them up and pack them up. And to this day, those bodies are still that end of that airstrip because nobody's been able to find them. And I have told them where they were. They've searched, but they've not been able to find the bodies. Now at 75, I regret doing that. But at that time, at 21, I was so mad at what was happening to my friends that I did the unthinkable.